It had rained heavily the night before, and the road was a thick morass of mud. Since the troop was not on any particular schedule, we had decided to wait for a day or two to give the roads time to dry. It was a fairly common occurrence, and it happened to fall at the perfect time for Ben to further my education. So I sat at the wooden work table in the back of Ben's wagon and chafed at wasting the day listening to him lecture me about things I already understood.
His beard was stuck with snow, and he smiled at Wax, gloved hands resting atop an ivory walking stick. Marcy knelt in the doorway, her rifle trained directly on him. Edwarn stood alone, though his people, at least 100, perhaps more, were setting up tents and dumping supplies in piles on the stone approach.
Carter was not much of a gamer, but even he thought this was amazing. He wondered which game he should play first. Darts and billiards both required more people to enjoy, and although he was curious how playing ping pong would be different on the move, he knew he'd need Valen or Zant to enjoy one of those. He decided he was going to try the virtual reality game. He'd never tried one. His parents forbade him from using them. They never once warned him against drinking alcohol or doing drugs, but after some of their generation had lost themselves in the virtual world, they, with many other parents, had absolutely forbidden their children from ever playing virtual reality games.
Once the company had ridden between the hills that marked the Great Arch, Alex noticed a change in the landscape. There were no green fields or meadows along the road ahead of them. Everything looked brown and dead, like open fields after a long winter. The air was colder on this side of the arch as well, and the thin clouds dimmed the sunlight. "Springtime is slow to come to Vargland," said Tayo, as he rode in front of Alex and Andy. "It will be at least a fortnight before anything green appears."
12 hours after the fighting ended, Grim wanted nothing so much as a bath and his bunk on Predator. He ached for them, in fact. When he was this weary, his sleep would be too deep to be disturbed by dreams of the men he had lost in the fighting. He could put off, for at least one night, being haunted by the faces and limbs that had been crushed, scorched, and mangled by the first battle of what could be a long and costly war.
Next, we will consider means to put thy treasure to labor and to increase. Gold in a purse is gratifying to own and satisfieth a miserly soul, but earns nothing. The gold we may retain from our earnings is but the start. The earnings it will make shall build our fortunes. So spoke Arkad upon the third day to his class.